Good day, everyone. You're welcome to Born to Touch channel. Today, we'll be talking about another topic in mathematics. We are through with our previous topic, and today we'll be talking about quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. What do we mean by quadratic equation? When we talked about quadratic equation means equation. It means equation that has highest power of unknown to be 2. Quadratic equation means an equation that has an highest power of unknown to be 2. What do I mean by that? Let's first talk about what linear equation is before we move to what quadratic equation really is. So when we talk about linear equation is an equation that has the highest power of the unknown to be 1. Example of a linear equation is to say x plus 3y equals to 6. If you say x plus 3y equals to 6, we have two unknowns there, and the highest power of these unknowns are 1. That is, x is just raised to power 1 and y also is raised to power 1. If you have 3x plus x to be 7, this is also a linear equation. Even if you have it to be 3 over 2x plus 5 is equals to 8, it is still a linear equation because the x that is unknown here has the highest power to be 1. But when we're talking about quadratic equation, a quadratic equation is a case whereby you have x squared plus 3x plus 5 equals, let's say, 0. As long as you have the highest power there to be 2. But before we dive into the real quadratic equation, there are some other things we have to put into consideration and we need to talk about. Example of them is a perfect square. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about difference of two square also. So all these things combined together are what makes quadratic equation easy to understand. And if you understand them very well, you'll be able to solve quadratic equation just in few minutes. Now, this is difference of two square, which I want us to talk about first before we dive into the real quadratic equation. When we talk about difference of two square, it also has the highest power to be 2 because it is under quadratic equation. But the way it appears is somehow different. Let's say we have x squared minus 16. Remember, I said in a quadratic equation the highest power should be 2. And in this case, the highest power is 2, but it is not an equation but an expression. So this is a difference of two square expression, and it is also a quadratic expression. So the reason why it is called a difference of two square is because this 16 can also be represented in a square form, whereby you have x squared minus 4 squared. Remember, 4 squared is 4 times 4, which gives you what? Yeah, 16. So when you have it this way, you can easily factorize it out by saying, sorry, I said factorize. Look, it has only one factor, or only one root. So you have x minus 4 to be, to be 2. Yeah, you have x minus 4 to be 2. And in this case, there is nothing else you can do than just to leave it this way because it is a difference of two square. Why? Let's say you want to express this back in this term. You can easily say x minus 4 into bracket x plus 4. And you see what you have. You have x multiplied by x to be x squared. And you have x multiplied by 4x to be plus 4x. Minus 4x multiplied by this gives you minus 4x, and minus 4 times this gives you minus 16. You have minus 4 cancelling plus 4. You are left with x squared minus 16. This is the reason why it is called difference of two square. Now, what we have is a perfect square. When we talk about the perfect square, before you can call a pair of quadratic factors a perfect square, it means they are the same. Example of the perfect square is saying x plus 3 into bracket x plus 3. Can you see? It gives you same factors, whereby if you want to solve this, let's say it's equals to 0, you have your x to be 3 and your other x also to be what? Yeah, sorry, to be minus 3. So example of a perfect square is this, whereby what you have in the first term is the same thing as what you have in the second term of your factors. So so let's go on to a real quadratic equation. This is just a brief explanation on what we understand by perfect square and difference of two square. Now, speaking of quadratic equation, there are different methods of solving quadratic equation. Number one, we have factorization method. Number two, we have completing the square method. Number three, we have what we call general formula method, which is also called quadratic formula method. And also we have graphical method. These are four ways you can solve quadratic equation. I'll be talking about the four methods in this on this channel. Sorry, we'll be talking about the four methods on this channel. But firstly, let's go to the first one, which is factorization. Yes, we can talk about factorization for some equation because not all equation can be factorized. When you see a factorized equation, you will be able to know that okay, this equation can be factorized. So let's take this equation for example, and we are asked to factorize this equation. The first thing you do when you want to factorize an equation is to look for two things that you can multiply together. Let me say two numbers that you can multiply together to give you 2. That is, you need all the factors of positive 2. Take note, not just 2 but plus 2. You have to take into consideration the sign also. And if you're talking about the factors of 2, you have it to be minus 1 and what? And minus 2. Minus 1 times minus 2 gives you plus 2. And you also have 1 times what? 1 times 2. 1 times 2 also gives you plus 2. These are the two factors that you have that can give you plus 2. And also, you now have to pick one of them. How will you know which one to pick? The one you are to pick, the addition of any one you are picking there must give you the value of the coefficient of x you have here. That is, if you want to pick any of these two, your answer must be equals to 3 if you are to add them together. And if you are to add, sorry, not just 3, positive 3. If you are to add minus 1 and minus 2 together, you have minus 1 plus minus 2 gives you minus 1 minus 2. That is, it gives you minus 3. If you say minus 1 plus minus 2, you are going to have minus 1 minus 2, which is minus 3. It does not give you plus 3. But this one, if you are to add it together, you have 1 plus 2 to give you 3, which means this is what you are putting into consideration. This is the factor we are going with. And what do you do with this factor? You represent this plus 3x with this factor, and you write it in such a way whereby you have x squared plus 2x plus x plus 2, everything gives you 0. Note, this 2x here is this 2. I only add x to it. And this one here is this x. Instead of me saying 1x, I can simply write it as x. Because if you multiply x to them, you have it to the head. So I have plus 2 equals 0. Now, I can easily say I want to factorize this equation. And what do? I take these two factors, sorry, I take these two numbers, the two first one that come, the two that come first, I put them into consideration and I look for what is common to both sides. If you look at this and this, x is here and x is here also. That is, x is common to both sides. I pick x out into bracket. This x, if I remove one x from it, that is, I divide it by x, I'll be left with just 1x. And also, this place, if I remove x from it, I'll be left with just 2. That is positive 2. I have x into bracket, x plus 2. Now, I come to the other side also. I only have x plus 2 left. What can I remove from there? Only 1 can be used to divide them to still give you the same thing, because only one is common to both sides, and the one common to them is just positive 1. And if I remove 1 from x, I'm still left with x plus 2 divided by 1, I'm still left with 2. Everything equals 0. You can notice one thing, that what you have here is also what you have here. Instead of you repeating it, just pick 1 and you are left with x plus 2. Put it into brackets. You have x out here and you have 1 out here. You can just pick the 2 also and join them together to be x plus 1. Put it into bracket and you have everything to be equals to 0. Now you can rewrite this equation by saying x plus 2 equals 0, separating them, and also you have x plus 1 equals 0. From here you can say your x equals to minus 2, and here your x equals to minus 1. That means these are the answer to this quadratic equation. If you are to substitute minus 2 into this equation, you have it to be 0. And if you are to substitute minus 1 into this equation, you still have it to be 0. So let's have another example and see. This is another example using factorization method that I would like us to factorize. So in this case now we are considering minus 4. That is, we need the values of minus 4. Two things you can multiply together to give you minus 4, and if you add them together they should give you minus 3. So let's firstly look for the factors of minus 4. For the factors of minus 4, you have minus 1 and 4. If you multiply minus 1 with 4, you have it to be minus 4. If you multiply 1 with minus 4, you also have it to be minus 4. If you multiply minus 2 with 2, you have it to be minus 4. And also 2 with minus 2, I don't think I have to write that. It is still the same thing with it. So which means these are the 3 possible values we have for minus 4. But to know which one to pick, we have to look for the one that if you add it together, your answer must be minus 3. So if you are to add minus 2 plus 2, automatically your answer gives you 0. And if you are to add 1 with minus 4, your answer gives you minus 3. Also, if you are to add minus 1 to 4, your answer also gives you what? Yes, 3. Which means it is only this one that is qualified to be our factor, because when we multiply it together we have minus 4, and when we add it together we have minus 3. That means we need to rewrite this equation by saying x squared minus 4x, you multiply x to both, and also minus plus x, because the one we are using here is positive, so it is plus x, and you have minus 4 to be equals to 0. Now we have to factorize this. How do you factorize it? You look for what is common to these first two entities. X is here and x is here also. That is, x is common to both of them. And if you divide this by x, you are left with x. And if you divide this also by x, you are left with minus 4. Now also we have to consider these two also. What is common to both of them? Nothing, but you can divide them by you can divide them by 1 and still retain the value, because there is nothing 1 cannot divide. So you have this to be plus 1 into bracket, x divided by 1 will give you x, and minus 4 divided by 1 will give you minus 4, and everything equals 0. Now since you have this to be the same, you can say x minus 4 by picking 1, and this also should be x plus 1, and everything gives you a 0. Now you can solve this equation by saying x minus 4 equals to 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. Your x here gives you 4 and your x here gives you what? Minus 1. Which means these are the two numbers for the value of x. If this is not clear, please, I would like you to rewatch the video and listen very well. And after rewatching it, it's still not clear, please try and give me their problem in the comment section below, and I will try as much as possible to answer to any question you ask in the comment section below. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and also on your notification bell for this video, so in case I drop the next one, because by our next video we will be going into another method of solving quadratic equation, which is what? Yes, completing the square method. So please don't forget to on your notification bell and also share for your loved ones. Thank you for watching this video from the beginning. Have a wonderful day. Bye.